Hey all, grab yourselves a beer, it's time to talk Path of Exile. I wanted to demonstrate here what a very high investment map strategy looks like for people that may have been just running their maps with, putting maybe cartographers' chisels to up their quality, and then focusing on the implicit stats of the map, the increased item quantity, the rarity, and the pack size. What I've done here is I've set up a very expensive prophecy, the Monstrous Treasure. This only has a chance to go off on any map that I open, and it generally trades for about 100 Chaos Orbs in Betrayal Softcore. What it does is it produces 36 strongboxes on the map, and it removes all the monsters. This then, in conjunction with the with one of these sextant mods, I'm just looking for it here. In conjunction with the sextant mod that you can see here, strongbox monsters are enraged, and strongbox monsters have 500% increased item quantity, and areas contain an additional strongbox. What this combination does is it puts basically all of the maps it puts basically all of the monsters in the map into strongboxes, and then gives them all a monstrous 500% increased item quantity. Now, when you think that your map probably has plus 110% item quantity if you've rolled it aggressively, that's actually a very, very large amount. You're going from 210% item quantity, so 100% base plus 110% from IIQ from the map, up to 710%. So essentially it's more than tripling the rewards from the map. So we start with that. Then we add a Gilded Ambush Scarab. This is a backup in case Monstrous Treasure doesn't proc. We add a Gilded Divination Scarab because we're running a map that has extremely high value divination cards, the Nurse. And we run a Gilded Cartography Scarab, which doubles all the maps. Remember, this is doubled, but we're also more than tripling them by putting the monsters in strongboxes. You also see I'm bringing a bunch of Orbs of Alchemy and Scouring Orbs into the map. That's so that I can roll up any of the strongboxes that appear in there. So let's activate the map, and I'm going to put Do Not Disturb on, just so that any players that PM me for trades end up just getting a polite message saying, "I'm sorry, I can't trade at the moment." Because there's 5 sextants on the map, one of which is the one that I mentioned before, we have a very large amount of mods on the map. Monstrous Treasure did not proc. However, we've got all of these sextants here. I'm going to be rolling these, and because of the nature of the mods that are on the map, the 500% increased 500% increased strongbox monster item quantity, I'm actually going to be targeting not good mods, not good loot drops, but good additional monsters. And I'm willing to invest quite a lot of Orbs of Alchemy and Scouring Orbs into that. Here you'll see I've got the mod that I'm looking for, guarded by a pack of magic monsters. Magic monsters have a very large amount of item quantity, so I'm going to set this off, run away, and we'll go back and we'll see what loot dropped. I'm running quite a strict loot filter, so there won't be very much. But if I override the filter, you'll see there's a whole lot. It's basically, it's not quite a map's worth of loot, but it's not all that far from it either. And we're just going to continue doing that through all of the strongboxes. The Gilded, as I said, we haven't had any success in getting the Monstrous Treasure to proc. But again, this would be an amazing Arcanist strongbox normally, but it's got only, from my perspective, it's got 3 rare monsters. That's okay, that's the weakest of the extra monster rolls. I'll take it. But I'm actually considering re-rolling this, even though it's got 7 additional items, which is normally what you want on an Arcanist strongbox. Get away, try and avoid getting killed by that lightning thing. And have a look here. As soon as I change my override my filter to show all of the bulk drops that are here, you'll see there's Jeweler's Orbs, there's Chance Orbs, there's all the trivial currencies everywhere. Continue. I'm not even going to bother picking up this Dendrobite, even though In a normal map, you probably would. It's one of the not terrible uniques, but and certainly is best in slot for a lot of builds. But so much loot is going to drop in this map that I'm not going to bother with it. Whenever I kill a large cluster of monsters in one place, I'll hold Alt to override my filter. Otherwise, I have a quite strict loot filter that I've made a separate video on. Feel free to ask if you can't find that from my profile. And again, my experience running these is that when Monstrous Treasure procs, you on average receive one Nurse Divination card per map. And the Nurse Divination card, which is 1/64th of the ultra rare Headhunter belt, is worth quite a bit. At the moment, I believe it's 140 Chaos Orbs. When Monstrous Treasure fails to proc, I tend to get about one Nurse card for every 5 or 6 of these maps that I run, plus just a staggering amount of maps and just other things that all add up. So I'll keep running through. I've mentioned before the reason I'm running Tower is because of the premium Divination cards. It also has a large number of monsters on it, and as well as the well-known Nurse Divination card, it has this is a backup. The Wretched Divination card, 6 of which will trade for a random unique belt which can include Headhunter, according to some testing that someone did, it drops 10 times as commonly as the Nurse. And it's... oh, there we go, there's a second one. And it does have some value. It will maintain a few Chaos Orbs in value. Now this is one, again, I'm just going to roll straight over that. It doesn't have anything that adds to the number of monsters in there. And I'm quite happy to burn a lot of Alchemy Orbs. Again, absolutely nothing on this one. Straight over it. Ice Nova can be dangerous. Now this has Guarded by a Stream of Monsters, as well as the Ice Nova and the revives nearby monsters with Onslaught. Reviving monsters with Onslaught gives you no additional loot, so it's of no value to me. Guarded by a Stream of Monsters was a terrible mod until recently. It has been buffed, and just have a look at how many monsters pop out of this. I'm going to scoot the hell away from there to avoid the Ice Nova. And you can see here that there has been... well, there's a tier 15 refund, there's a couple of lower tier maps, and then if I overrule the loot filter, you'll see there is absolutely garbage everywhere here. And again, I'll continue moving. The Gilded Ambush... oh, there's my Nurse card for this map. That makes me happy. That pays for all of the investment in this map, plus the next one, plus part of the investment in the one after that. This one here has detonates nearby corpses and freezes you when activates. I flat out can't beat that combination at the moment because for some stupid reason I'm not using a antifreeze flask. This one here is what I want. Guarded by a pack of magic monsters. That's the best additional source of monsters. And then all the rest of the stuff doesn't matter. I'm just going to open it, get the hell away. And again, you'll see we've got what, a Cartographer Sextants 5C, Shrine, lots of good stuff. All these little things add up to very little in comparison, but I can't stop myself from picking them up. Here we go, another one, Jeweler's Strongbox. Rogue Exile. Rogue Exiles are not a very good additional monster bonus, and I'm going to roll over it and just keep going until I get a full pack of monsters. Again, this is the same. It's something that you would normally consider quite good. It's got identified items and mirrored items, which would normally be, if I didn't have the 500% increased strongbox quantity mod, I would actually Val this, and because there's a good chance of getting 6 mod rare items. However, I've got better things to do with these strongboxes that I've invested so heavily into. And here we go, this is what we want. We've got a pack of magic monsters. All the rest is just fluff that I don't really care that much about. Drop down a whole lot of death on the map, and nothing particularly great there. Oh, there's another Wretched. I was somewhat lucky to get that Nurse card that I got before, but as I said, there's been someone who did extensive testing and posted on Reddit. They did hundreds of high investment maps, and their comparative drop rates of the Nurse, they got 46 Nurses and 456 of the Wretched. and all of the investment mechanisms that they used had the same impact on nurses and wretcheds. Those, they were using polished divination scarabs. So for that reason, I'm quite confident that it's exactly 10 times the drop rate. So we've had 3 wretcheds. That sort of or 4 wretcheds. That implies that we should have got 0.4 copies of the nurse so far, and we got lucky getting 1. But if you do this enough, you will get lucky. Now, the reason this is worth doing is that there's the polished divination scarabs, which are the key to this, and the polished ambush scarabs are not very good items if they're used without having all of this extra investment in the map. There is currently I've been paying about 17 to 20 chaos orbs for those various scarabs each. They sort of fluctuate a bit. At one point I was paying 25, and they may well, if this video were to go viral, then they may well end up pushing 30. They'd still probably be worth buying at 30 chaos, but if you just use them on a random map, so you just take a map, roll it yourself, and don't try to stack all of these more multipliers at once, then you actually won't get very much from it. Normally I would roll over a blue strongbox always, but Magic Monsters is the best single mod, and there we go, there's another Wretched card. I believe the last time I was looking at them they were 4 Chaos Orbs each, so even if that's changed a bit, they certainly, enough of them will add up. I'm not even bothering picking up the Struck by Lightning, the Tower, and I believe, and the Warden, and I think there's one other low value divination card here, just because there's so many of them in circulation that that they don't really hold any value. This I believe from the location to be a transport encounter. I always pop down, I'm on softcore, and I always pop down a town portal before I attempt those, because it's very easy to underestimate these encounters and get ganked.
No more prison.
I'm not actually sure how much... Oh, and I failed to catch Giannis there, but anyway, no big loss. Now, I'll go and I'll talk to the Betrayal people and see, what do we got? We got Rin and Varici. My Betrayal Atlas is not set up very well at the moment. Rin I don't want in transportation, Varici I don't care about, so let's talk to Varici. No, I don't want to remove Rin.
I hate you, Exile.
Well, that is disappointing. It seems to me that no.
And here's an opportunity to move Varici around, which, from memory, he then becomes... he gives Shaper Scarabs, which are not terrible. Oh, that was a mistake because Gravicius swapped with him. Yeah. My bad, I wasn't paying enough attention, and I took Gravicius out of Intervention, where I think he's actually quite a bit better than Varici is. Moral to this story is, pay attention to your Betrayal board, and do all of that min-maxing, as annoying as it can be. Magic Monsters again. Now, we've got Detonates Nearby Corpses, which means we have to flee after clicking it. That's easily done, and we get... I haven't had a massive amount of returns on this map, except for the Nurse, but the Nurse just makes everything else worthwhile. Now, keep in mind that this map has had, I believe, 6 strongboxes on it. There's the one that comes from the Sextant mod. There's the one that came from the... sorry, there's the 5 that come from the Gilded Ambush Scarab, and then there is the extra... there may have been one that was just normally on the map as well. In any case, it's not anything like what you get if all stars align and Monstrous Treasure procs, which is just probabilistic. I don't think there's anything you can do to influence it, and it will make you a staggering amount of currency when it happens. This boss isn't normally worth killing, but for some reason I'm in the mood to do it, so I'm going to do it. This boss doesn't get amped up by well, it gets amped up by the Divination Scarab, and it gets amped up by the Cartographers Scarab, but the key thing in here is the synergy between the Ambush Scarab and the mod that gives all of the monsters 500% increased item quantity if they've come from a strongbox. So that doesn't actually help you there. Anyways, let's do a quick assessment of what we got out of this map. And remember that Monstrous Treasure failed to proc. So we have our currency. In terms of currency, we're down 6 alchemy orbs and 6 scouring orbs. And we're up a few little things here and there. 3 Master Cartographer sextants. I think we got about 20 plus 20 chaos worth, mostly in the Master Cartographer sextants. Now let's look at the maps. We have a 13. Let's just go through the trash first. We had 8 trash maps. Those won't be worth anything. These are maps that I've looted earlier. So they're also that I've lined up already to run. So they haven't dropped here. We had a 13, we got a 15, another 13, another 13, and a 16. Altogether, that certainly more than pays for the Master Cartographer sextants. Oh, sorry, the Gilded Cartographer Scarab that was used. And the Divination cards, we have the Wretcheds, 5 of them. 5 of them sort of implies that we should have got half a nurse on average. I'm pretty happy to get one. And then there's some of these lower value ones that do sort of add up over time. And I think you pretty much always get the card there for the Chevron item. More rarely you'll get the card for Chevron's wrappings. That can add up. Especially if you're not playing on Betrayal Softcore, if you're playing on one of the other mods. That only drops from the boss. And yeah, that should give you a sense as to just how much you can get in the way of returns. In terms of the cost to run this, I ran an unidentified tower map, which costs approximately 13 or 14 chaos to get an unID'd rare one. Now that's assuming I roll it myself. I've used a tower map which costs 10 chaos, 4 Cartographer's Chisels, which is another 2, an Alchemy Orb and a Val Orb on that. So yeah, that's about 14 chaos. I have, however, sold some of the best rolls that I've got. I've then on-sold. I would be running an 8 mod map, except for the fact that I have the sextant that provides 15% pack size and 30% increased quantity when you run an unidentified map. I believe that makes a 6 mod map better than an 8 mod would be without that sextant. I then used the Scarabs that you saw me using before, which cost approximately 60 chaos total. That is 1 Gilded Ambush, 1 Gilded Cartography, and 1 Gilded Divination Scarab. They're a pain in the ass to buy these 3, but they are worth it. And yeah, you've seen the results. One thing that's very important, if you do follow this strategy, make certain that once you've finished running your mods, your maps that have the 500% item quantity sextant, you then go and seal your Monstrous Treasure if it didn't proc. That's very important, otherwise it will proc on a map that you don't want it to proc on. Lastly, I use this strategy every time that this sextant appears. But it's quite a common sextant mod. It's not like it's something particularly rare. You certainly don't need to use it every time. You can just have this and then use only, well, even just run it as it is and just get one. Treat that extra strongbox with 500% quantity as just basically being 3 or 4 juiced up extra packs of monsters on the map. You may have a strongbox that spawns on the map on its own anyway. And so you don't need to feel that this sextant mod is precious. I believe that it's approximately a 6% chance to roll this mod when you apply a sextant to your atlas. But yeah, that's what a high investment strategy looks like on the tower map. And if you're going to do this, I would suggest doing it only on maps that have both the potential to drop tier 16 maps, so that's a tier 15, a tier 16, and that includes shaped versions. So for instance, a shaped Belfry map is a tier 15, or an Elder Glacier map is a tier 16. So start with a map like that, and then apply all of these things on it. I certainly don't use the Cartographer Sextant unless the map is capable of dropping tier 16s. If it's not, perhaps consider a Harbinger Scarab instead, because that'll add extra monsters to the map. Then you want to pick a map that the Gilded Divination Scarab works well on. These are maps with premium divination cards, and generally I consider these to be the Lair map, which drops Lair map, which I believe is around here on the atlas. Let's just find out. It's a tier 11 map, and it drops the divination card for Rigwald's Quills. That's a particularly good one to chase because the drop rate is fairly high. Next you have the Tower map, which is here, the one I was just running, that drops one of the cards for the Headhunter belt. The other 2 cards for the Headhunter belt are available in the Shrine map, which drops the Fiend. The Fiend is a much rarer card than the Nurse. I believe it's about 6 times as rare, and it is an 11-piece set that if you can get all 11 pieces, you'll get a Headhunter that has a Val implicit corruption on it. Then there's also the Burial Chambers map over here, which has the Doctor Divination card, which is basically just getting 8 of the Nurse card at once. These, I believe, are the highest value divination cards to chase when you factor in both the rarity of the card and its trade value. You could also consider Val Temple as another option, which has the divination card for the Atziri's Mirror prophesized upgrade for the shield. Again, that's one that you could consider using this strategy on as well. Anyways, that's the end of what I had to say on this video. If you've got any questions, feel free to shit up the comments below. If you think I ramble too much or whatever, and you think that I'm terrible at making videos, then let me know that as well. Otherwise, have a good one.